In episode 34, titled Detect Incidents, Analyze Indicators, and Escalate Early, we set the expectation that the safest path to small incidents is early, confident escalation. The math is simple. Minutes of decisive action beat hours of speculation, and short timelines shrink blast radius, cost, and reputational harm. That speed is not reckless, it is disciplined, because it rides on clear thresholds, consistent first-look checks, and containment moves that are both reversible and low regret. When teams embrace this posture, they replace hesitation with a steady rhythm of sense, test, decide, and act, while there is still time to choose outcomes rather than absorb them. Correlation is how you turn noisy fragments into a coherent hypothesis. Stitch identity, endpoint, network, and cloud facts around shared entities, user, host, token, workload, resource, and around time windows aligned to real attack tempos. A suspicious login becomes persuasive when paired with EDR evidence of unusual parent-child process trees, network flows to new egress points, and cloud role changes that did not ride a change ticket. Use asset and identity context from configuration management database, spelled CMD on first mention and CMDB thereafter, and identity and access management, spelled IAM on first mention and IAM thereafter, to weight the story by criticality and privilege. Correlation should compress choices. Either this is consistent with a benign pattern, and you can say why, or it crosses a threshold that now demands a named containment move. Validation protects responders from whiplash while keeping tempo high. Quick tests and scoping steps step up verification challenges, token invalidation on a sacrificial session, read-only queries for recent privilege grants, checks for new persistence artifacts, either strengthen or weaken the hypothesis without committing to outage-risking actions. Use short, pre-approved queries and synthetic events to confirm parser health and lookalike conditions. When tests return, you should be able to express the hypothesis plainly. Who is affected? What boundary is at risk? Which control failed or was bypassed? And why this is or is not consistent with a known benign job. Only then commit responders and containment with the confidence that the move matches the evidence and the clock. Escalation clarity saves minutes that matter. Define crisp thresholds that map to business harm. Confirmed credential misuse on a privileged account. Unauthorized changes in a crown jewel cloud role, encryption events on more than one endpoint in a protected segment, or data egress above a set rate from regulated stores. Connect thresholds to paging policies that wake the right on-call roles, identity, endpoint, network, and application within a fixed acknowledgement window. Name who approves high-impact moves inside the first minutes. Network isolation of a tier. Account disablement for executives or contractors, failover for a customer-facing service, and back those approvals with short decision trees. When thresholds, pagers, and approvers are explicit, the system escalates itself instead of negotiating under stress. Containment triggers must be immediate, safe by default, and reversible. Examples include forcing multi-factor authentication, spelled MFA on first mention and MFA thereafter, on the affected identity, invalidating active tokens with a targeted scope, isolating an endpoint at the switch or EDR level, enabling a web application firewall block on a precise route, or throttling egress to a narrow slice while exfiltration is assessed. Safe defaults favor narrow, high-certainty moves that reduce adversary options without cutting customer traffic broadly. Reversibility matters. Pair every trigger with a tested rollback and a verification checkpoint that confirms both the effect and the absence of collateral damage. This makes early action a low-regret choice, which is the heart of small incidents. Evidence preservation starts at intake and never stops. Preserve raw and normalize logs with both device and ingestion timestamps. Capture short memory images on suspect endpoints when feasible. Store packet captures around the relevant windows. And snapshot critical configuration states in identity and cloud. Standardize on coordinated universal time, spelled UTC on first mention and UTC thereafter, and verify clock health with network time protocol, spelled NTP on first mention and NTP thereafter, so sequences survive scrutiny. Store artifacts in tamper-evident locations with access controls, labels for origin and collector identity, and chain of custody notes. Continuous preservation keeps options open. It supports containment decisions now and legal, regulatory, or insurance needs later. Communication should be structured and on a cadence that matches the clock. Use a short status template. What happened? What is known? What is unknown? What is being done next? Who owns it? And when the next update lands. Keep sensitive details, keys, tokens, customer identifiers, inside restricted case artifacts, and refer to them by handle in broader notes. Route tailored versions, a technical channel for responders, a leadership update for impact and decisions, and, where needed, a legal privacy thread for notification posture. Cadence turns rumor into quiet facts and lets executives make resource calls without fishing for context mid-incident. False positives will always visit, so manage them without blinding yourself. Maintain allow lists for sanction scanners, maintenance tasks, and scheduled automations that mimic attacker behavior. And attach expiration dates so lists do not fossilize. Build baselines that account for seasonality and change windows and require feedback loops. Every high-volume rule should collect triage outcomes and feed them back into thresholds and suppressions. Retire detectors that never drive action, refine those that sometimes do, and promote those that reliably front-run harm. The aim is not silence. It is a queue where signal routinely leads to containment within minutes. A durable event-to-incident timeline and decision log is both a working tool and a future shield. Log every escalation, handoff, containment, verification, and rollback with time, owner, and artifact links, and record the hypothesis that drove each move. Note alternative paths considered and why they failed the evidence or the appetite test. Keep the log as you go, not after. Memory fades under adrenaline, and fidelity at review time depends on facts captured in the moment. A clean timeline turns lessons into changes and satisfies legal or regulatory reviewers who want to see prudence and proportionality. Common pitfalls are predictable and remediable. Alert fatigue arrives when detectors are uncalibrated, when owners are missing, and when context is not attached. Remedy with required fields, enrichment at intake, and principle-based suppressions that expire. Siloed tooling breaks stories into fragments. Remedy with unified case records and bidirectional links across SIEM, EDR, identity, network, and cloud consoles. Missing context forces guessing. Remedy with enforced lookups to CMDB and IAM, and with change record joins that flag planned behavior. Every pitfall has a corrective pattern, and folding those patterns into playbooks and onboarding is how programs get steadily faster and calmer. In conclusion, convert intent into motion with two near-term artifacts that make early escalation routine. First, create a crisp escalation matrix that ties named detectors and scenarios to severity bands, paging paths, containment triggers, and approvers, all in the unit's leaders already used to judge harm. Second, run a detection to escalation drill this week using the contractor account scenario. Inject synthetic signals, enforce first-look checks, page real on-call roles, execute safe default containment, and capture a live timeline. Record gaps, update thresholds and playbooks, and schedule the next drill on a different crown jewel flow. Early, confident escalation becomes a habit only when the system practices it on purpose. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.